And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I'd like to call our meeting to order today. Begin with the approval of the minutes of April 13th and April 20th.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next, we'll begin with commissioner reports and comments. Vice President Baker, would you begin?
Sure. Good morning to everybody. Good morning to everyone that's participating in our meeting this morning. And the only thing I'd like to bring up, I remember actually two things. The one is a few weeks ago or months ago, I brought up about the Murballs that were doing the demolition over here on Jonathan Street, and just through his experience and knowing what to do when he come across those old logs that could possibly be the oldest logs in the country in a home. I know I've asked to try to get some support from our local historical groups, but I'd just like for possibly maybe get a consensus for the commissioners to put together a certificate and possibly provide to the Murballs, thanking them for saving a very important structure and a
That's
piece
a
of
good
history
idea.
in Washington County.
There's been some Facebook stories about that location, so maybe we can work behind the scenes and get some
at least get a certificate for the Murballs and maybe invite them in to present it to them. I'd really appreciate that if I could get support from the commissioners on that.
I'm good.
Yep, we'll do that. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, either here or on location. if
Maybe
possible.
on
yeah.
location would
I
be
like
even
that.
better, be good publicity for
Yep.
that. Very
Yep,
good.
That'd be a great thing. And I had a second thing, and it's skipped my mind. Hopefully by the end of the meeting it'll come back.
Will you gladly interrupt
Thank
us? Thank you, Terry. Commissioner Kiefer?
I have two items. One, as the commissioners know, the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 150 was established to represent the deputies, in particular the sheriff's deputies here in Washington County. And I know they are asking commissioners for assistance in helping with some payroll deductions like we do for other union employees, I assume, and for other reasons for their union membership. And I hope that could be an agenda item for maybe next week, if at all possible, so we can help with that effort. You know, as we know and as we talked about, police officers are under scrutiny, and some legislation came out through Annapolis that was less than favorable, and has been talked about more legislation that might even be even more or less favorable for police officers. So it's important that they have some representation, I believe, and I would support an effort to assist them with their payroll deductions.
How about a consensus that we get that on our agenda next week?
I'm
Is that
good.
Okay.
I'm good.
And I think I've asked John to get some documents put together so we know what to vote on and approve, okay?
Yeah, I mean, staff is looking, this is something we don't do on a regular basis. You're right, we do it for the union, the existing union now, because we have a collective bargaining agreement with them, and we do that. We don't do that for any other groups, so if that's a consensus of the board, staff can do that. I don't know if we'll have all the paperwork done, because we're gonna have to create this process.
We'll
I
have
think-
enough to maybe move forward or something with the review,
Right,
okay?
and I think that, I think the representative from the FOP said he'd be happy to sit down with our staff and talk about, because there are a lot of questions about, there'll have to be paperwork about, they'll have to sign to say they're okay taking out payroll deductions, and how often the checks are issued, and all those kind of details have to be worked out. So if it's a consensus of the board to do that, maybe staff will get a hold of Kevin, and we'll try to get the details, and then we'll bring that back to the board for consideration.
Wayne, something else?
One more item. I just wanted to comment on a recent Herald Mail news article titled BOE Praises Hancock Middle Seniors Accomplishments, referencing to some of the student accomplishments that happen in Hancock schools in general. I believe there was an accomplishment also at the elementary school. The If I Were a Mayor contest was the regional winner in a statewide competition. And also there was an academic team, I believe, of some high school students, and they won their competition as well. I think that goes counterintuitive a little bit to some of the information we heard about small schools, and in fact is proof that good things, really good things happen in small schools. And I, for one, am proud of the schools that we have in all of Washington County, Hancock as well. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke?
Let me finish
Okay.
up I figured out my second comment. Colonel Douglas Drive, I can't remember if I asked staff to do a little research or if we're to do it on our own, just to
Yeah,
provide
I-
some information on how that net road was named.
Right, you'd asked that, and I know staff took a look at that, and I don't think we have we haven't been able to find out
Okay.
any information on how they got named. So,
Okay.
if we find out the information, we'll provide that to you, but staff has not been able to locate any information as to how that got named.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Commissioner Burkett?
I've been really busy the last couple of weeks, including visiting Morgansville, Funkstown, Boonesboro, Wordsville, and Dargan Fire Departments. And although these meetings were a part of my getting around the county to introduce myself, they also became an opportunity to reassure the departments that a tax cut does not constitute funding cuts. And I'm looking forward to getting out to more departments in the county really soon. Last Tuesday, Oli, our volunteer coordinator, asked me if I'd be available to go to Frederick to observe the new firefighter recruits doing an actual live burning training. And I was impressed with the dedication of these men and women who put their lives on the line to keep us safe, including the danger involved in training for the job of a firefighter. And then finally, last Wednesday, I reached out to Hagerstown Mayor Keller in an effort to understand their side of this issue with the 911 payment. And during our conversation, Mayor Keller informed me that there had been an agreement made in 2019 for meetings between the county and the city to take place on a regular basis. And these meetings, for some reason, never materialized. And as I told Mayor Keller, the county and city should follow through with their agreement, and both parties should work together to resolve the issue. Also, during that phone call, I gave Mayor Keller my word that I would do everything I could do to make sure that these meetings between county and city staff would start occurring on a regular basis as agreed to. And yesterday, it looks like there was a breakthrough, and we will be meeting with city elected officials as early as next week.
I think I think what we want to do is get back to going out in all the communities like we're required to.
Yeah.
I think we also included Morgansville at one time, and then one time we did go up to Cascade, but it's important to get back and do all our meetings, and thank you for
Yeah.
initiating that.
Just one final thing, just thanks to Commissioner Klein and Mayor Keller for following up my phone calls with an agreement to come together.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, anything else, Commissioner Burkett?
Nope.
Commissioner Wagner?
I attended Boonesboro 26th Annual Fishing Derby and Pond Dedication for the Hawkins Grove Park Pond down in Schaefer Park. It was a nice event. The mayor was there and Rich Hawkins and just lots of people and kids fishing, having a good time. I think, what's the Albert Powell Hatchery? I think that's what it's called, stocked 200 or 300 trout and all pound or 2 pound trout. And kids were catching fish and having a good time. So that was a nice event, and I want to thank Boonesboro for that. I also met with Kevin Clappert on the FOB, and I agree. I mean, due to the, like Commissioner Kiefer said, to the recent legislation, I mean, the police are under attack, and we got to do everything we can to help them. So that's sort of sums it up in my opinion. Oh, and congratulations to the elected officials in Hancock. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good memory. I forgot
Yeah.
that one.
All right, I think we all received an email last week. Through Sarah's work as CFO, we received our 3 double bond A ratings again, so that's all great news. It saves us a lot of money. Second, I did attend the swearing-in ceremonies for the new Hancock mayor and officials, so congratulations to all of them, and for those who had served and those who ran. Next Tuesday, May 11th, is Washington County Gives Day, so please go to the Community Foundation website and select the cause or organization you wish to support, or share it with your friends and colleagues. This past week is the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics 10th year anniversary and celebration. Commissioner Baker and I were here when we all voted to move that forward into an old building over there that leaked, and through their determination, they're in a brand-new facility over there and maybe need to expand one day. So that program, supportive job training, has been very important. And also wanted to notice that last week we had a State Highway Workers Appreciation Day, and staff and several of us went out to sites just to give them a personal thank you. Sometimes our highway guys, through all types of weather, all times of the day, they too are instrumental in being essential employees. With that, that concludes my report. We will now go to any staff comments. Mr. Downey?
No comments this morning.
Krista, and I'll go to John last.
I do. John, can I steal your mic?
Sure.
I just wanted to remind all the citizens on how participation can be scheduled. Citizens are encouraged to submit a request via email to khart@washco-md.net, or you may call 240-313-2204 at least 24 hours in advance of each meeting if you wish to participate.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to Mr. Montereno.
Thank you, President Klein. Good morning, Commissioners. I have a few things this morning. I do want to follow up on Commissioner Klein's comment about our Highway Department. I know there were some things on social media just to recognize our Highway Department employees, so thank them for that. Have a couple other things. Today is International Firefighters Day. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, county staff, and the citizens of Washington County, I want to thank all of our firefighters for their extraordinary commitment, courage, selfless service, and for all they do to keep our community safe. So thank you to all the firefighters in our community. It's also Teacher Appreciation Week, and I think actually today is Teacher Appreciation Day, which is in the middle of the week, so we're almost in the middle of the week. So again, on behalf of the county commissioners and county staff and our citizens, we want to thank all the teachers for their continuing hard work and dedication to the youth of our community. So thank you to all those different groups, our highway department, our firefighters, and our teachers. So thank you for all that you do. The final thing I have today is I want to introduce Larry Etchison, our new Human Resources Director. He started with us yesterday. And I want to personally welcome Larry, and I wanted to have him come down and just introduce him today during the meeting.
Come forward.
I'm sure he'll be in front of you on official business here soon. But Larry, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome, Larry.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. It's a pleasure.
So, again, this is the Board of County Commissioners. Welcome to Washington County Government and to the County Commissioner meeting. And that'll be it's a cool seat today. It may not always be when you come before the commissioners, but welcome. We're happy to have you here.
And your first day was yesterday, correct?
My first day in the office, my first day was on the 1st, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I've been reading and doing a lot of deep diving before even coming on board.
You having fun yet?
Yes,
Yeah, I got you.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Very much.
that's very encouraging.
Lots of opportunities.
Oops, anything you want to tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm absolutely honored to be here, so I really appreciate the confidence that you have in me and John and everyone. And I'm really looking forward to serving those that serve our citizens and taxpayers here in Washington County. So it's a real pleasure. I'm really looking forward to helping us continually improve. Yeah, it's a big thing with me. It's always continuous improvement. If we're good, we can be great. We can be great, we can be outstanding. So it's really an honor to have that opportunity. But right now I'm drinking from the fire hose, so I'm just trying to learn everything I can.
Okay, well, good. Well,
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you and welcome aboard. I think you'll do an awesome job. I think you have an excellent team up there to work with.
Very much.
And just my only advice is just stay cool and calm, and there's no pressure on you. All the pressure's on Mr. Martirossi. So
That's all right.
thank you for coming to Washington County.
Well, I appreciate that, but you're supposed to take as much pressure as you can from your boss in your particular area, so
Oh,
that's
he can
fine.
handle it. He
I
can handle it.
appreciate that.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And before Deb leaves, I said this last time, but I realized she was already out of the room. I want to thank Deb she served in the interim capacity for a long time. Kept a lot of balls in the air, and we really appreciate it. I just want to thank you publicly.
And Deb's the happiest lady on earth right now because you're here.
I
That's
think
right.
that's very true.
I think yesterday you told me you were like on cloud 9 when I was up there talking to you. So thank you, Deb, and welcome, Larry.
Thank you all.
Thank you, both of you.
That's all I have, President Klein.
All right, I think next we're to convene as the Board of Health. Is Mr. Stoner outside anywhere? We can begin a little early, 5 minutes.
He should be. I was
Thank
gonna
you.
say he's, double fund out. He should
Does
be.
our new HR director know about the $25 penalty for not having this George Washington lapel?
He does not know that yet. so.
All right, we'll give you
I
a
don't have
mulligan on that. We'll give you a mulligan.
me too.
Here you go, catch. We'll get you initiated.
There we go.
There
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Make sure I have it on next time.
Next,
We need to take a vote.
I need a motion to go into convene as
Convene
Board of Health.
Right.
Okay, is there,
Was there someone already make a motion? Motion to move into the Board of Health.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Please introduce yourselves and the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners and County staff. Earl Stoner, Health Officer at the Health Department.
Dan Triplett, Administrator for the Health Department.
And I think first on the agenda is we are presenting to you to get approval to award a one-year extension of our Medicaid contract that we have for taxi ambulance service. We have a contract currently with AAA. The Maryland Department of Health is in the process of implementing a statewide, basically broker system to handle all aspects of this program. They've been talking about it for a couple of years. Obviously, with the pandemic that we're currently in, that has kind of sidetracked the discussions at the state level. So they're asking all of us to do a one-year extension to our contracts.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, is that a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, thank you.
Alrighty.
Next up,
And then next is to authorize me as health officer to enter into an MOU with the county related to vaccine hesitancy. We have about, I think it's a little over $300,000, $300,420 set aside for a vaccine hesitancy campaign, basically to get people vaccinated. It will be along the lines of the masking campaign and the behavioral health campaigns that we've previously done, but this one will be really targeting individuals in the community who may be hesitant or taking a wait-and-see approach, or hopefully will serve to convince some other people who don't want to be vaccinated at all to get vaccinated, because we are sorely plateaued and really declining in our vaccination rates. We're about 27% right now. We've been hanging around that 27% mark. And we have to get more people vaccinated, or we're going to continue to see what we're seeing now, like outbreaks pop up here and there, and we're never going to get out of the pandemic. So this would be to authorize me to enter into agreement with the county.
So that means you're going to be offering us cash incentives to get vaccinated? And know what the governor's doing?
I'll put another 500,000 on there and come out of the county coffers.
That is what the governor's doing.
This,
You're right, that is what the governor's doing.
Huh?
$100 an employee to get.
Yeah.
should have waited.
and this really would be a media campaign to complement some of the things that we're already doing. Really, we're at a stage now where it's a ground game, and we are going out to, from a mobile perspective, we're going out to every place that we can think of. Some of those places, it's 10, 15 people here and there. But if you look at national trends, that's unfortunately where we're going. It's going to be very time intensive. It's going to be very resource intensive, but we are stalled. I mean, frankly speaking, we're stalled here at under 30%. And if we don't get anywhere near the 70%, we're not going to be in a good position.
Is there vaccination? I heard there was none today anywhere in Washington County, except, is there clinics open today in Washington County?
Today, yeah, the mass vaccination clinic
Mass
is open.
vaccination, yep.
The pharmacies are basically, I think all pharmacies in Washington County are receiving vaccines now.
Are they, what's the stats for people not showing up for their second shot?
We're pretty good. You know, nationally, it's about 8%. We're roughly around there. We're not doing bad. We just don't have very many people coming in to get their first vaccine
Gotcha.
or even the single dose Johnson & Johnson at this point. So, but the people who were originally given a first dose, most of those individuals are coming back. I mean, not all, but most of them are.
Earl, you say we are at 30% of
We're
our
at, we're at 27.1% fully vaccinated.
Just curious, how does that compare to other counties that might share demographics, being rural?
Pretty much the same. Yeah. I mean, you can look at, I mean, even nationally, you've got the more rural conservative populations that are looking, basically mirroring what we're seeing. Then you have the more suburban and urban populations that have higher vaccination rates. So we're basically mirroring what we see in rural communities across the country.
The $300,000 for this campaign, it comes out of, I'm assuming, federal stimulus money of some sort, or federal.
This comes out of
COVID
FEMA money?
FEMA. This
Yeah.
is a FEMA reimbursement advance grant.
Okay. And can it only be used for marketing? Is that the only purpose of this money? I'm just wondering, is that the most effective way to use this funding? Many of the people I've spoken to, it seems like they already have their mind made up. And I'm wondering if an advertisement they may see on television or in the newspaper or on Facebook is going to change minds.
This is just a portion of the money that we're getting. We received the money to basically broadly deal with vaccination and testing issues. As part of that, we carved out this $300,000 to basically do the media campaign, you know, social media and that sort of thing. But we're also continuing with this money to support pretty intensive mobile vaccination, basically going out, you know, to Hancock, to, you know, faith-based organizations, anywhere we can, but also using it to really, hopefully, establish a program almost like an ambassador program, where we have trusted individuals within each of these population centers or these zip codes or communities that are really like looked upon as community leaders that can tackle just what you're saying. Those individuals that really are staunchly against, you know, being vaccinated. And honestly, some of those people were never going to change. It just kind of is what it is. But we've got to pull out basically all the stops from the ambassador campaign with trusted leaders in the community, to providing access equitably to those individuals, to just a broad level, you know, this is vaccination, you know, safe and effective, having individuals, you know, of color, for our communities of color in those advertisements, having individuals that live in the western part of the county and the southern part of the county in those. I know Commissioner Klein is going to be featured in, and actually I think they're already out, featured in some of the advertisements and the social media things that we're going to be doing. So to address what you were saying, yes. I mean, I think the biggest part of it is we've got to make sure that it's front and center. When you look at individuals and changing minds, it's not necessarily just one thing. It's seeing it, it's hearing it, it's having a person who may have been infected, may have been had a death in their family. It's a multitude of things that we need to do in order to hopefully change as many minds as possible.
Okay. Commissioners, any
Yeah, I
more?
have a couple more questions. I've had various calls on people that are on certain medications. Do you all have a list of the medications that if an individual's on, that they have to have doctor approval before they can get the shot?
I'm not aware of any list
I
of
know that-
medications. The only, again, that's an individual decision between their doctor and the individual.
So
But
if
the only
someone-
thing that I'm aware of that would really preclude, outside of some sort of severe history of a severe allergic reaction, is having another immunization within 2 weeks of getting the COVID shot. That's the
So if
biggie.
someone that's on, someone shows up, they're not gonna ask them what medications they're on or anything like that? And then be denied for certain medications that they are on?
No.
Okay. And then the other one is blood clots. I know I've had some people call me, well, not people, a person called me concerning blood clots.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson vaccine was paused for about, what, 2 weeks? There were 15 cases nationally of a clotting issue, and not necessarily just a clotting issue, but a thrombosis with that, which made it kind of like ultra rare. So the bottom line is that the CDC, FDA, and there's a committee, ACIP committee, that meets specifically about immunization recommendations. They met, looked at all the data, and basically didn't really find a true causal, cause and effect, but they did agree to put a warning label on Johnson & Johnson. Again, I'm not aware of any, since it's been up and moving forward again in the last week, I'm not aware of any new cases
And we
nationally.
haven't had any locally.
We have not had any locally,
And
no.
Johnson & Johnson is
It's
the only vaccine that's had any,
Johnson & Johnson is the only one that's being utilized in the U.S. AstraZeneca, which is being utilized in Europe, has had a similar issue with some clotting. But that's not authorized for use in the U.S. at this point in time.
Have you noticed any resistance to, now that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is back online, people coming in and refusing that vaccine or?
A little bit, but not as much as I anticipated.
Okay.
No.
and then the cost. If I go to a vaccination facility, is there a
Free.
cost? Okay.
The vaccine is free. They can charge your insurance for an administration fee, but like anything out of pocket, that you don't pay anything out of pocket. It's a federal program and a federally supplied vaccine, so it's all, the vaccine itself is free.
So the bottom line, 27% that's been vaccinated, you need about 70%.
Yes.
Commissioners, any comments?
I do have another question. I've read somewhere where we have just drop-in vaccination sites.
Mm-hmm.
Are those costs part of Maryland's cost? Maryland's footing that bill, and then if so, are we getting people from West Virginia, Pennsylvania,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I would say it's I can't speak for the state, but I would say it's a combination of state funds and federal funds.
Okay.
I know, speaking for us, we're a combination of the two, but predominantly federal funds. Until recently, we had, our preference and our priority were for people who live and work in Washington County.
Mhm.
We've recently, over the past week, loosened up on that because frankly, we're not filling appointments. But to answer your question, yes. I know that at the mass vac site, about 10% of the people that have gone there are from out of state.
Okay.
And about 20% from Washington County. The biggest portion is Montgomery County at about 35% at the mass vac site.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is it's not affecting any of the Washington County residents,
No.
citizens.
No, not at this point.
No one's being denied.
No.
Earl, another question, 27.1%.
Mm-hmm.
What would the percent be? And as you know, I'm not a scientist. I don't run the health department. I don't have a medical background. But someone who's recovered from COVID, I would assume have the same, maybe even better antibodies in their system than someone who's received the vaccine. What would that percentage be if we counted those people who have recovered from COVID would have that immunity as a result, plus the vaccine? What would that rate be?
Probably close to anywhere from 45 to 50%.
Okay.
But I would, again, I'm not a scientist, but in the research that I look at, it's showing that the antibodies that you develop from vaccination are far more robust than antibodies developed through natural infection. So, but 45, 50% combined.
All right, any more questions? There's not, call for a motion to execute the advertising.
Motion to support the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions? If not,
Just
all in favor?
one more comment. I
ahead.
support this. As we shared in an email chain, I was contacted by one of our small town newspapers. Just making sure that reach, if there is media print advertising, that I believe we, in addition to the Herald Mail, the Citizen newspaper in South County and the Hancock News also serves Washington County. So if we could make sure we spread those resources, it would help us reach all parts of Washington County even better. So
Right.
include our smaller media sources.
Right.
And that might be true for television as well.
Yes, we're pulling out all the stops. Everybody will be involved.
Okay.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
All
Aye.
right.
Thank you. Next, I need a motion to reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Motion to reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Second.
I have first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Welcome back. Introduce yourself in the matter.
Earl Stoner, Health Officer at the Health Department.
Dan Triplett, Administrator, Health Department.
So then, is this me
I
or?
was gonna say, so what's happening now is, now you're looking for Board of County Commissioner approval to enter into this MOU. So what you did before is you authorized Earl to sign on his behalf, and now,
Thank you for the
so
explanation.
now you're on the other side of the agreement. Sorry, that's technically had to be that way, so.
All right, Commissioners, any comments? Motion to approve as the Board of Commissioners?
Motion to approve as Board of Commissioners.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Mr. Triplett, you talk too much.
I've been told
You did
that.
excellent, thank you very much. Good day to you all.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we're a little early, is Chris Boggs in the neighborhood?
Find out.
Hey, Chris.
Good morning. Next on our agenda, the Baker Rural Legacy Program easement. Mr. Boggs, please introduce yourself and the matter.
Chris Boggs, Land Preservation Planner. My first item today is the David and Barbara Baker Rural Legacy Easement Project. This property is located there on 18701 Manor Church Road in Boonesboro, and it's going to preserve scenic, environmental, and historic property in the county. The property is mostly hay and cropland for use of their dairy. It lies in a part of Washington County that was heavily trafficked during the Civil War and the Battle of Antietam. Also, the DNR's historic Rails to Trails line crosses the property. You see it looks kind of like that little line going up through the eastern side of it there. This property is contiguous with several thousand acres of permanently preserved farmland, which includes the battlefield and other preserved properties around it. We got 10 development rights that will be extinguished with this easement, and this easement is part of the first easement for our $1.691 million grant that we received this spring from DNR for this year's Rural Legacy projects. As we've said in the past, these funds are 100% state dollars, and the county also receives 3% of the easement value for administrative costs and 1.5% for compliance and monitoring costs. Again, if the state does not approve of the easement, they'll just allocate the money to somebody else, some other county in Maryland. But they approve our program, and the recommended motion is to approve the Baker Rural Legacy easement for the amount of $400,000 over 127 easement acres. Any questions?
Yeah. How many acres do we have now?
Oh, we have, let's see, right now, currently, we have 7,527, I believe. So we'll be adding this one on, and we still have a couple from last year's grant that are just waiting to
That's
settle. so-
long-term forever.
Yes, perpetual easements.
We have a 10-year
preserved
plan
until,
as well.
the fall of Rome.
So,
So, yeah.
I do have just a quick question. So of the 3% and the 1.5% that we received, does that come out of the 400,000?
No, it is tacked on to the 400. So the 400,000 is essentially the check that the landowner will receive for preserving their property. The state also reimburses us that 3% and the 1.5% And then they also pay for any, for instance, we have a survey on this property that they'll reimburse us for, as well as any incidental costs or title fees, things like closing fees, things like that. So that's all separate from the $400,000.
Okay, no other questions, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
All in one sentence.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Danny, you have public hearing next. We're a little early. Should we wait or go on to something else? People will be scheduled for 11 o'clock viewing of this. We're early.
Yeah, you should wait till 11, take some of the other agenda items
Okay.
to the end.
All right.
Chris, would you send in Susan Buchanan?
Sure.
She should be out there.
She'll probably hear that before I get out.
Probably.
Susan, we're a little early, but thank you for being prepared. Would you introduce yourself in the matter?
Sure. Get my papers over here. Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management, here this morning to present the FY22, please make the corrections, FY22 Appalachian Regional Commission preliminary project rankings for review, discussion, and approval, either as presented or with modifications, and then forward the rankings to Tri-County Council for Western Maryland. As part of the annual ARC funding program, Tri-County Council for Western Maryland, the local administrator of the federal funds, requests the county review and prioritize projects submitted for grant funding consideration. A review committee consisting of the county administrator, directors from the offices of planning, business development, grant management, and engineering have reviewed the projects and assigned a preliminary ranking. The Board of County Commissioners has the final authority to review and rank the proposals at its sole discretion prior to submission to Tri-County Council. ARC's preliminary project description forms were distributed in February to municipalities, educational agencies, healthcare providers, and nonprofit agencies, inviting them to submit proposal requests for funding through ARC. Normally, there are two categories of funding available through ARC, area development and local access roads. The area development requires a 50-50 match, and the local access road does not require a match. However, it's important to note this year, Tri-County Council is not accepting applications for the local access road projects. In FY22, ARC's funding for the Allegheny, Garrett, and Washington counties is expected to be approximately $1.2 million, and funding is typically distributed evenly amongst the three counties. Funding requests for Washington County's area development projects include 7 proposed projects requesting $874,532. I do have a spreadsheet that's attached that I draw your attention to that lists the projects as they were preliminarily ranked by the review committee. The first ranked project was Hagerstown Community College, their dental education facility and equipment requests requesting $75,000. Second, the town of Boonesboro, Schaefer Park well replacement requesting $100,000. Third, the town of Hancock, Western Maryland Trail retaining wall project requesting $37,500. Fourth, Washington County Public Schools Diesel and Automotive Technology Program implementation and expansion requesting $200,000. Fifth, Washington County Museum of Fine Arts implementing digital strategies for the museum and the region requesting $43,665. Sixth, the town of Williamsport Salisbury Street improvements requesting $168,367, and finally, Community Free Clinic Chronic Disease Management Program requesting $250,000. Prior to opening up for discussion, I just wanted to make note the bottom 2 ranked projects are not considered eligible for funding, and that's why they are ranked at the bottom, because the primary threshold in the ranking is that we do not submit high-ranked projects that won't proceed to ultimately get funded. And the reason for the ineligible status for the town of Williamsport is just because they are not accepting the road projects this year. And then the community free clinic, the chronic disease management program is an existing program. ARC does not fund operating costs from year to year. They would only fund something like this if it was a new program to get it started up. And that's the reasoning.
So what happens to those allotted money that you have on your sheet? They have to be, like you have 874,000. I guess the first question, that wasn't a 50-50 match on this one, right?
This is a 50-50 match. So if you look at the sheet that I provided,
Right.
and on the far right column
Oh, I
is
gotcha.
what they're requesting
All right.
from ARC, and then their contribution that they have to provide either with their own resources or other funding sources is in the local private funds, and then the total cost is that far right.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I see that now.
Susan, just a couple questions. Who made the initial ranking of these projects?
It was the committee, the ARC review committee.
Okay. And it looks like 1.2 million is available. The funding is usually evenly distributed among the 3 counties. So the projects that total the first 400,000 are likely to be approved. Is that what
That'd
we're
be fair
saying?
to say.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying there's 1.2 million for all 3 counties?
It's all
not-
3.
That's right.
Not each county.
And typically, Tri-County Council does try to make an even distribution between the 3 westernmost counties. I don't know if it was to the dollar that it would be. It would depend on the funding request and how it all sorts out. But a rule of thumb is that you look at it's going to be divided by 3 equally.
Commissioners, any thoughts?
Example, just an example, you don't have to go back and look. How would this compare to last year?
Well, this is a unique year because we did not have local access road funding. Usually we have several of those types of requests that come in. This would be somewhat of a typical year. We usually get between maybe 6 to 10 area development projects in a year. I think it's a really good selection of different types of projects, which is typical for ARC. You can fund education, you can fund infrastructure, nonprofit, leadership building. I mean, there's a wide variety of things that you can fund, and we can see that here with higher education, the public schools, municipalities with infrastructure.
And typically, where does our 50% come from?
The 50% would be based upon each applicant. So this year, this does not impact Washington County government in a fiscal manner because every project is submitted either by a nonprofit or a municipality. So each municipality applicant, nonprofit applicant, they have to provide their own funding match. So there would be no county money involved with this.
Okay.
Did we not have any projects we wanted to be considered?
There were none submitted this year, correct.
Okay.
Typically what the county does bring forward is a road project.
Okay.
Commissioners, you okay with the order of preference? If
I
so,
think based on the information, it looks like the first 4 will get funded possibly.
There would be a high probability that that would be the case.
okay, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to accept the project descriptions as presented to us.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, thank you. Next up, fiscal year 2022 Healthy Families. Is Allison available?
I'll get her. I know she's out there.
Thank you, Susan. Here comes Allison. Allison, good morning. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Allison Hartson, Office of Grant Management, Grant Manager. This morning, I'm seeking approval to submit the grant
application to Maryland State Department of Education in the amount of $277,993 and to accept the funding as awarded. Excuse me. The Washington County Office of Grant Management, on behalf of and in the direction of the Local Management Board, is seeking approval to submit the fiscal year 2022 Healthy Families Home Visiting Grant application to the Maryland State Department of Education. The Healthy Families Home Visiting Program is a comprehensive program modeled after the initiative Healthy Families America. The goals of the program are to prevent child maltreatment through early intervention, promote healthy growth, development, and strength of the parent and child relationship. The Washington County Health Department is the vendor contracted to provide this service. Funding in the amount of $6,607 is included in the award for the county administration support. No county funds are involved in this award. Again, this provides $6,607 for county administration. I think on your ARF it said $6,606, so that is a change. It's just $1. Any questions?
Motion to approve the submission? Questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Commissioners, I suggest let's take a brief recess to 11 o'clock to begin our public hearing. If that's okay, we'll go into recess. Thank you. Introduce yourself, and then who's going to read the opening statement? You will?
You read the opening statement, I'll read at the end.
This here is what you want me to read?
Yes. And then I'll read the end.
Okay.
And not close it. We won't close
Okay.
it.
All right, gentlemen, we're live on the air. For our 11 o'clock agenda, we have a public hearing on the Agricultural Land Preservation District applications. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony considering the matter. We'll make a statement on that shortly, how they participate. The procedure is followed. We'll have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. We'll make a statement on how that will be done. Each speaker, which will also determine how that will be done. After everyone who wishes to speak, the commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of this proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliver at a later date.
Let me take
Okay?
We're taking citizen comment or concerns on the matter. They may be submitted to the county clerk at khart@washco-md.net or by phone at calling 240-313-2204 no later than Monday, May 10th by 4 p.m. for consideration on this public hearing matter.
All right. Mr. Boggs, would you please introduce yourself in the matter?
Chris Boggs, Land Preservation Planner. This is for the 2021 Agricultural Land Preservation District applications. Each year, landowners in the county who own agricultural land have the opportunity to apply to be in a county agricultural land preservation district. The ag districts, as they're called for short, basically allow farm owners to receive tax credits on their property taxes, their county property taxes, as long as they agree in a recorded document with the county that they will not develop the parcel for a period of 10 years. So we have 4 landowners this year who applied, and they all qualified based on our parameters, which it means they have to have at least 50 acres or at least 20 acres if they're right next to another form of preservation. They have to have at least 50% class 1, 2, and 3 soils, and they must be outside of areas programmed for public water and sewer. These properties fit that bill, and the Agricultural Land Preservation Board approved the applications back in February. In exchange for the agreement, landowners receive tax credits in the form of taxes not received, or taxes not paid, on all of their agricultural land, any agricultural buildings, and up to $711 on their dwelling. It has capped at $711, or it cannot exceed the ag component. So if the agricultural land and ag buildings are lesser than $711, they pay the lower amount. The cost this year for the tax credit program is estimated to be about $5,045 per year. That is taxes not collected by the county, and this will cover a total of 420.42 acres on these 4 ag districts. Any questions?
So only 4 applied, right?
Only 4 applied
Could
this year.
8 have
yeah.
applied if they wanted?
Yeah, we've had years where we've had 15 applicants. We've had years where we haven't had 1. So it really, I'm not sure what affects it. I don't know if it's random or if there are changes in the market sometimes. I know last year, I believe we had 12 that applied and that got into the program. Maybe there was a group of people that were interested last year and these 4 forgot to go into it last year. And so really I have not seen over the years any rhyme or reason to the amount that apply. It's all over the board sometimes. So, you open it up and, put
So
out
the benefit to the applicant if he qualifies is, somebody benefits from not being able to develop for 10 years.
Right.
And he or she gets a little bit of
Tax
tax credit.
Yep, and also, just to add to that, in order to apply for a Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program easement, you have to be in an ag district.
Right.
You can't apply for that program in Washington County unless you are already in an ag district. So it's kind of a stepping stone for other land preservation opportunities.
Chris, is there a ceiling as to how many acres we would accept in a given year, or is it based on
No,
just those applicants that
as
qualify?
as long as the the properties qualify, the ag board will go through and approve them. So it really doesn't. There's not a limit.
Okay.
At least there isn't one yet.
Commissioners, any other comments? I believe as previously explained, we'll leave comment public hearing up for 1 more week as previously explained, and
So will I be back on next week?
yes, I think
Follow
that's how
up? Okay.
we'll bring it back next week. For the moment, public hearing has concluded. Until next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, would you ask Sarah to come in, please?
Okay. My question would be to the commissioners. We have a 11/30 fiscal year with Sarah. We're early. Would you want to go into closed session and take care of some business and come back at 11:30 for Sarah, or you want to proceed with Sarah early?
I don't know why we just don't move ahead.
Okay, either way, it's moving ahead, however you want to do it. Want to move ahead with Sarah?
If she's ready.
Okay. I'm just, my only concern is why I'm asking is we're at 11:30, people could be watching, but they can always review if you're listening. Okay, so Sarah, you're up. Please introduce yourself to the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer. I'm here to present to you updated versions of the budget. Before I do just want to announce I have limited information because the bond sale was just held at 11 o'clock and I was not present upstairs, but I have been informed that the interest rate that we received was about 1.6%, which is a very good interest rate. Last year, it was about 1.9%. So we did better than last year, and the information does have to be reviewed. It's not final yet, but the bidder was Robert W. Baird. So I just wanted to provide that good news. I did hear Mr. Klein discuss that we did maintain our bond ratings. We had those rating meetings last week. or the week before, they went very well. And all three rating agencies affirmed our ratings, and that does contribute to receiving a lower interest rate. Okay. The request that I have today related to the budget is that the commissioners provide approval to either move the budget forward to public hearing as presented or modified if that's the determination of the board. We hope to have the public hearing on May 18th at 6 p.m. virtually. The general fund has been modified to reflect the motioned adjustments from the April 20th meeting. These adjustments include a reduction in the income tax rate from 3.2% to 3%, $1 million applied as turnover savings, a reduction of $2.7 million to the capital plan, and the remainder, the excess budgeted in reserves. We were also able to make a couple adjustments that we needed to do related to some body cameras for the sheriff, and we made an adjustment to the trailer tax revenue. Other than that, no other changes have really been made. Are there any questions on the general fund? The attachment that you have does include the adjusted budget and provides explanations for all of the categories. Something to note is the excess was pushed into the reserve. There's about $3.5 million in that account for the board's awareness.
So all we're doing is going to make a motion so that we can get this to public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's not approval, just
It's
to
not
move forward
approval, right.
for public input.
Then we can have some more discussion.
Absolutely.
Right before we approve it.
Absolutely. It's nice to get a consensus from the board to move it to public hearing so we can finalize our documents for that day.
One thing, we also need to let the municipalities know about our budgets so they can finalize their budgets, correct?
Absolutely.
Everything we talked about.
I'd motion to move to public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
I'd like to also take a minute just to present some of the capital budget changes for a similar vote, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So obviously for capital, we had a reduction from the general fund. The CIP committee did rebalance the plan with care. The methodology of the reductions included looking at the projects that were funded by the general fund, providing a priority to projects that were maybe a match for grant funds, because we didn't want to reduce projects that were matched with, maybe 10% local funds. We didn't want to forego an 80 or 90% grant. So we did not adjust a lot of those projects. After we kind of narrowed down the projects to look at, we did end up adjusting some of the projects that received the budget adjustment that was provided in February. So we did put some money into the capital plan in February. The commissioners did approve that. And so some of those projects may have faced a reduction, but that February adjustment would have offset that reduction. So I do want to make sure you're aware of that. Keep in mind, just for information, $500,000 of the general fund contribution, which is approximately $4 million, is related to speed camera revenue, and it is directly contributing to a patrol relocation services project. What that project does in the plan is it builds that funding up until we have enough to begin that project. So you can see that in the plan, but I did want to make sure you were aware of that. Also, the committee determined that they should reduce bonds based on some comments from the last meeting from 12 million to 10 million. However, in doing so, we have used some reserves in the CIP plan. These are not general fund reserves, they are transfer tax reserves, and they are excise tax for schools and non-residential excise tax that we get. These revenue sources are generally more restricted than the general fund reserves, which can be moved back and forth between the capital fund and the general fund. But I did want to...
So does that mean instead of requesting 12 million in borrowing, you're going to request 10?
Yes, sir, for next year. So some of the projects that we're using the reserves on, we are using for pavement maintenance and rehab, $1 million in transfer tax reserves, $500,000 for Board of Education capital maintenance, another $500,000 in excise tax for schools that we have in reserves, and then $535,000 in excise tax non-residential category for the police, fire, and EMS training facility, the burn building, and some detention center systemic projects. So I just don't want you to be alarmed. That was a change that was made, definitely related to the bond reduction. And we do have those reserves because we received more than we budgeted in past years and also in the current year that we're in due to some large commercial transfers. So we're in a good position to utilize those instead of bonds if that's the board's consensus. I can go over the projects if you like me to. I did hit the high points, and the capital plan adjustments are included in your attachments. What you'll see is the draft 3 versus draft 4. The draft 3, every project has 2 lines. The first line represents what the funding was for the project in draft 3, and then the second line for every project represents draft 4 after the adjustments. Like I said before, a lot of the adjustments for fiscal year 22 were offset by the recent budget adjustment that was provided in February. If you would like me to go through them, I can, or if you've had enough with the attachments and feel confident to move it forward to public hearing, we can do that as well.
I think the motion was to go ahead and already to move it to public hearing.
This is capital here, though, right?
Capital.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did general.
So you want a motion for both?
Where does, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Need a vote to move this through the capital improvement project to public hearing along with what we just approved, general.
If possible, yeah, just for a consensus that there's an understanding of the changes that were made since, you know, they were significant. Yes, sir?
The income from the speed cameras, what's that labeled as?
That is included in the general fund number in total. So you'll see that in general fund, but we know that that 500,000 is related to the speed cameras.
All right.
But it comes over as general fund because that speed camera revenue comes into the general fund and then it's transferred into CIP.
You know, I'm okay moving all this to public hearing because it's, as Commissioner Baker said, once it goes to public hearing, we might have more input. And then we get to discuss all this again before we vote on it, correct?
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Okay, is that a motion?
And second.
Second. Any further discussion to move it to public hearing CIP? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
That
you.
conclude everything for you?
That is
All right.
everything.
All right, gentlemen,
Thank you, sir.
Aye, thank you.
I believe that's all on our open agenda. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're in closed session. Please take us off the air.